So my name's Greg, and I lead technology at RXBAR. I've been with RXBAR for almost 4 years, joining the company when we were still just a startup as the 28th employee. I was tasked with taking us from our Excel and QuickBooks and streamlining processes through technology, and today oversee a few pillars of IT at RXBAR, including data and analytics. I'm going to be taking you guys through a brief history of RXBAR, where our need for insights came from, our first attempt at kind of trying to tame data, the discovery phase of where we are today, the getting starting phases, and then Sarah will kind of take you through the more technical aspects, and then I'll close with where we're going. So a brief history of RXBAR here. RXBAR's got a really cool story. 2014, two good friends that were really into CrossFit kind of were frustrated by the protein bars that were available to them. They had ingredients that they just couldn't read the names of and they just didn't trust. They set out to create a really clean labeled product, and that's what they did. They labeled just dates and egg whites, and it really took off. So they focused on e-com and selling to those mom and pops local to Chicago, and the e-com, and that really took off for them. Focused on CrossFit, which was a really great niche at the time for them, and slowly moved into retail. Before they knew it, they had a brand that was just absolutely exploding. And in late 2017, they sold the company to Kellogg for $600 million. It's, to this day, one of the unicorns of their industry. So today, as a Kellogg subsidiary, we act completely independent. We're kind of there for Kellogg as an innovation hub, clean label. We have a little bit more expertise in the e-com world and also these non-traditional sales channels, which would be your mom and pop type of sales. So where did our need for insights really come from? It did start early on. When any startup is going through their growth cycle, that really strains the business, and all employees' time goes into just keeping up with the operations and keeping up with the sales. As RXBAR matured, we implemented operational tools to help streamline work, ERP systems, other type of operational applications. What happened was a major shift in the business. People had more time to do more reporting, and just a total boom of analysis happened. But there was a barrier to this analysis, and what that was is now we had all these systems that created more silos of data. People were downloading data sets from different systems, marrying them together in Excel, and it caused a lot of inconsistency. Two people putting the same report together might have done it, married different data sets together differently, and we're getting different results. And then at the same time, as our business is getting bigger, the business is getting more complicated. You have more 3PLs coming on board to ship product, more manufacturing facilities coming online. You have more products and more customers. So, a lot of competing priorities, but at the bottom of all of those priorities was trying to understand our business, and we were having a really hard time doing that. So our first attempt, we did try to, as I said earlier, tame the data at RXBAR, and it didn't go as planned. So, we tried a solution called ClearStory, which was what I refer to as like an all-in-one solution. They do all the ETL, they do all the data warehousing, they also are totally your visualization tool. We just underestimated the complexity of our business, of our data sources, of just how tough it was going to be to marry some of these sources together. And we pretty quickly realized that we were going to go out of scope, over investment, and we got pretty lucky. ClearStory got acquired pretty early on by Alteryx, and that gave us an opportunity to kind of back out of our contract. And we took advantage of that, and we did back out. And we kind of regrouped and said, where did we go wrong here? We sat down as a team and we looked at what lessons can we take away, because we still need something. We still need a solution. And that's where really helped actually lead us in the direction that we went with next, and probably was one of the most important things that happened on the data side at RXBAR. So some of the lessons, we learned is, one, you can't do everything at once. You got to have a roadmap. You have to kind of set that expectation with the business that it's just not all going to happen overnight. Not a, we have, I think, 30, 40 plus data sources that we get in various ways. Also, we need to understand our business objectives better from a delivery team. We're trying to deliver a solution, and we didn't have the clearest objectives to prioritize how that solution needed to be built. We also totally underestimated the importance of data governance and education, and that's educating the users and educating ourselves on the solutions out there. And lastly, we had to accept that mistakes are going to happen along the way, and there's going to be times when we are going to have to stop and maybe redo something. Knowing that that's going to be a part of this project, how can we minimize that? That kind of led us down a new path where we said we're going to take a very similar approach with how we did our operational system architecture, which is working very well for us. And we're going to build kind of a best-in-class analytics platform. But we realized and we knew that, we needed support in doing that. We said we need to find a partner. We have a very lean IT team, and we're going to need a partner to help us to make sure that we don't make the silly mistakes, and we can hopefully, somebody that has maybe done this a few times before, that has seen the shortcomings or can help us avoid certain obstacles. So that's actually how we got involved with Aptitive. From our involvement with Aptitive, right off the bat, we kind of dove in and tried to say, what is the best fit tech stack that would support how RXBAR operates, both from an IT perspective, but also from a people's perspective, which is really important. So this whole discovery aspect was critical to the success of the project today, and also where we're going with the project. It kind of set up the whole thing. Really diving in with the business on what are their needs. It's hard because at RXBAR, we're starting from scratch, which always sounds great, right? No legacy software that you're trying to figure out and integrate. But at the same time, it's very tough because people don't know what they don't know, and we never had a platform. So the business questions that we were trying to get from people, they were having a very hard time articulating their business needs and business questions. They knew they wanted data, that everyone's really excited for it, but articulating that was one of the largest challenges that we faced in creating our plan. And then obviously before all this, as I'm sure everyone's aware, it's not the cheapest project to build a data platform. So executive alignment and buy-in was really critical. And we're fortunate that we have a great team at RXBAR that's forward-thinking and understands the importance of data. But there was a lot of road mapping, prioritizing the data sources. As I said earlier, can't do it all at once. So for us, it was really laying out that roadmap and the ROI of each milestone or phase of that roadmap. So, we were able to align, obviously, and we were able to get that buy-in and build that excitement around the project. And we went forward with Snowflake, Tableau. We also leveraged Fivetran, a little bit of Amazon, and then some Warescape as well. So now we got the buy-in. Everyone's excited. They're ready for data analytics. People are throwing around the buzzwords of machine learning, and we're trying to kind of tame the expectations, because we said we just We just need to get started. We're a ways away from some of those data science and machine learning things, which we want to get to, but it's not where we're going to start. As I said earlier, we built this roadmap, and that roadmap was broken into multiple phases. Each phase was meant to give the business an ROI, some wins, some type of benefit to continue building the excitement, but also ladder up into a larger objective that was identified during that discovery period. So for us, two other really big things that we had to keep top of mind, because we had so many departments and working in different systems and different people wanting to view the data in different ways, was data governance. It was an aspect that in our first try that we totally underestimated, and we weren't going to do that again. So that was a lesson, that an education that we had to do for everybody in the organization, and kind of build that framework of what our data governance is going to look like in the beginning, and how it will mature as the data platform matures. And then there's the change management piece, which also was just critical for the success. And that's really bringing along the stakeholders. So you can see in phase one, we started really simple. We just wanted to improve the visibility, right, to those basic business performance metrics. So we focused on most of our financial data, our ERP, our first party data, and really just building out some really streamlined reporting, a single source of truth for everyone in the business to kind of get a grip on what our current state is, and how that compares to maybe the financial forecast or some type of forecast. So what we realized was there's a lot of change management just in doing that. Forget about just teaching people to go and log in, but teaching people how to look at it and really leverage that information was something that we had to take into consideration. After we actually completed that first phase, to make sure that we caught up with that change management, we actually kind of slowed down for a month or two to guide people through the whole, the visualization, how to interact with, Tableau and things like that. And then that also gave us a little extra time to kind of plan phase two, make sure that it was still the priority, and from a data, like what our next data sources were going to be. And now we were kind of moving more into some of the fun stuff, where we were saying, okay, in our business in CPG, you have a lot of customer data that you have access to. Now, you don't get it very easily from your customers, but you have access to it. So here we were looking at a major gap where we have access to this distributor data, but we don't really have an easy way or streamlined way to get to the distributor data. You have to go into the portal, you got to download it, you have to clean it up, which is lots of hours, and then tie it in with everything else. So the phase two was, now we're taking this third-party data and we're streamlining it, and we're saving people lots of hours. So you had a lot of excitement around this one, and that was, I think, a lot of fun to deliver. And then in parallel, as you're getting kind of more robust data built out, we're also continuing to build these dashboards in a meaningful way for the business to try to make an impact in their day-to-day. One thing that we had to keep in mind during that was, maybe we finished phase one, and that was, data source one, but throughout phase two, and we're focusing on new data sources, there's maybe a new request from data source one, or something new that we need to add and develop it. And Sarah would have to go back and not redo anything, but add additional tables or columns. And so you couldn't really ever kind of put something on the bench after you're done with it. It's kind of, once you're finished with it, it goes into a continuous development stage, which I think was something that from this project we didn't truly expect. But now I'm going to pass it over to Sarah to kind of dive into the guts of the project and how we actually got it done.
Great, thanks. So I'm going to go through a high-level architecture of our solution. And this was, all predicated on these needs here. So things that we uncovered during the discovery phase for RXBAR is that we needed to have a solution that was low maintenance. So, they have a lean team, and that definitely meant a cloud platform, but also just keeping in mind even the tools within the cloud, what's going to be something that's going to be really easy for their team to get up to speed on and also maintain when they have other things going on. Definitely wanted to find reliable and established tools for them, things that they would be able to find a lot of support and education around. We focused on speed of delivery. We wanted to, like we said, get quick wins and quick ROI out of what we were doing. And they're also a very fast-moving company. And lastly, we wanted to find something with a scalable architecture. Even though some of these first use cases, maybe we had a smaller audience, the idea is that as we add more and more sources and create more reports, we're going to be opening this up to a large part of our RXBAR, and we want to make sure that the tools can scale with that. So this is an overview of the solution and the architecture that we created for RXBAR. On the left, we have the source systems that we mentioned. The first one that we brought in was NetSuite. Then we also added Unify, KHE, and some Excel flat files here. So the way that we ingested those was with Fivetran and AWS. So we chose Fivetran, especially we used it for NetSuite, and this was just a very quick way to get up and running. We didn't have to create any custom code for this. This was basically just a plug and play, and it took care of things like change data capture for us. And then we utilized AWS for some of the orchestration for our ETL tool, as well as creating a landing area for that Excel file and for some web scraping that we had to do for Unify and KHE. We use these tools to put the data into a Snowflake data warehouse, and we used Warescape, which for the ETL tool. Warescape really helped us to template out things that we were doing a lot. So it has templates for a data vault architecture as well as dimensional architecture. It just helps implement some of those best practices very quickly. Again, that's something where we had an opportunity to speed up that development. Landing this into Snowflake, we put it into basically a layer of raw data is what we call it, so a landing zone. And this is just basically a copy of what is in the source system. So we always have a way to audit that. It's just in a nice safe place for us, especially if things are getting deleted on the source systems. Then we created a layer, a data vault layer. And so this is where we really integrated these source systems. For example, customers in NetSuite and then customers that were coming from KHE and Unify. This is where we were able to integrate them and just gave us a really nice centralized place to be able to use that for a variety of use cases. So, for this one, the eventual use case was Tableau, but we also had ideas for different applications and things like that could sit on top of this layer. And then this fed into the final layer, the data warehouse layer, the dimensional layer, and this is where we structured the data to be ready for reporting. And then on top of Snowflake, we fed that data into Tableau. The solution all worked very well for us. Snowflake was a great choice. It was really easy to use, especially we could separate out that compute for the development work we were doing, for the ETL jobs we were running, and then Tableau users. So there wasn't any issues with these different jobs and consumers getting in the way of each other. I will hand this back off to Greg to talk about future for RXBAR here.
Great, thank you. Where's our RXBAR going? It's kind of it's a big question, but it's really exciting. In the CPG industry, syndicated data, the Nielsen's, as well as the customer data is tremendously insightful. A top priority of ours is to continue building that out. And we're kind of lucky that we have this big brother Kellogg who has done a lot of that. We are working on some type of connect with them to help streamline how they are already automating a lot of this ETL work and bring that right into our Snowflake instance. We also are going to start getting into the marketing data, which is a big one for our RXBAR. We have a large e-com presence, a large both organic and paid marketing priority here at our RXBAR, and just general feedback around the products itself and how when we launch new products and We are still in the early stages of the discovery work in around these departments, or around marketing, but we kind of have a high level vision, and in the process, or will soon be in the process of kind of building out that more detailed roadmap, and kind of going back to how we did it last time, where, well, how do we want to break this down to get those wins along the way to maybe a longer term goal, and show ROI at each step. Using Snowflake, there's a huge opportunity for data sharing with our partners. We feel it's I was just on a webinar of Snowflake's the other day, and they were reviewing some of that functionality, and it's definitely something we work with so many vendors, manufacturing partners, third parties, even our retailers, and how we run promotions in store. There's so many opportunities that we want to explore with this type of functionality. It's definitely on the roadmap for us to explore that in the coming year. And lastly, getting to those words that everyone gets excited about when you're talking data analytics, the data science, the machine learning. Now that our platform has matured a little bit, the education around the platform has increased. It's, how can we start leveraging this in our demand plan to help us better understand, or production planning, or logistics planning, or what type of promotions that we should be running. So there's the list can go on, cross-selling. I mean, so there's a lot of exciting things now that we're kind of just getting to really explore and really leverage this. Yeah, we're really excited for our partnership with Snowflake and Aptitive, and it's going to be really interesting to see where this thing goes over the next year or two.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you, Sarah, for presenting. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at Aptitive. We're at info@aptitive.com, or you can connect with Sarah or Greg directly on LinkedIn.